Hello, lovely humans, how are you? Here we are again in one more horror story episode, which is going to be slightly different, as today we're going to talk about experiments. Something I really like about stories, horror stories, regarding experiments, as it has a dose of reality. So today we're going to talk about that. Yeah, also let me tell you something about myself. I am totally obsessed with the 40s. I have read a lot about it. I love 40s style. I love 40s history and about the Second World War, which I believe, apart from the horror part of it, in my case, it gives me a very weird melancholy. I do believe that my previous life was during the World War II. I really love the period, the 40s period here in Europe. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it, but for now, we're going to start with an experiment that took place back then. So, yeah, hold tight and let's start. So, let's start with the unit 731. The Imperial Japanese Army's Unit 731 carried out atrocities in the names of scientific experiments, some details of which are still left to be uncovered. It was until 1984 that Japan acknowledged about conducting cruel experiments on humans to prepare for germ warfare. Set up in 1938, the objective of Unit 731 was to develop biological weapons and was supported by Japanese universities and medical schools that supply doctors and research staff to carry out such vile experiments. The unit used thousands of Chinese prisoners and Asian civilians as guinea pigs to develop killer diseases. The experiments included infecting wartime prisoners with cholera, anthrax, plague, and other pathogens. Horrific still, some of the experiments involved vivisection without anesthesia and pressure chambers to identify how much a human can take before bursting. What's creepier is that post-war American administration provided safe passage to some of those involved with Unit 731 in exchange of findings of their experiments. Some horrific experiments took place back then, and things that we will never know, things that obviously governments have never talked about and don't even want to talk about. We'll never know. Well, the thing is that even today experiments are taking place. We don't even know about how horrendous some of the experiments might be. I can't even think about how horrible, how far science might have gone. So imagine how far experiments nowadays might have gone. So let's continue with the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. Sorry, I think it is pronounced like this. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male is infamous because of the tragedy it caused to people suffering from the disease in the name of free treatment. Between 1932 and 1972, 600 men were originally enrolled for the project, consisting of 399 with latent syphilis and 201 as control group. Monitored by doctors of U.S. Public Health Service, these men were given only placebos such as aspirin and mineral supplements rather than treating with penicillin, which was the recommended treatment at the time. So we're talking about the placebo effect here. The purpose of the study was to understand the effect and spread of the disease on human body. Because of the unethical considerations by scientists, 28 participants perished from syphilis, 100 died because of related complications, and more than 40 spouses were diagnosed with the disease, passing syphilis to 19 children at birth. Yeah, fantastic. President Clinton is 1997 issued his apology to the survivors and families of the victims of the study, stating the United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, and morally wrong. It is not only in remembering that shameful past that we can make amends and repair our nation, but it is in remembering that past that we can build a better present and a better future. Yeah, sure. Talking later on about that, it's not of a huge help, isn't it? Many people really found it horribly difficult back then. I can't even think. I can even put myself in that position. I don't have much to say about it. It is easy to talk later, afterwards. You can't make it up as a president and blah blah blah, but imagine the suffering of that people. Let's continue with the two-headed dogs. Yes, you've heard right, the two-headed dogs. Vladimir Demikov was a successful surgeon, and his studies have helped medical science to advance, especially in the field of organ transplant and coronary surgery. Demikov was the first person to perform a successful coronary artery bypass operation on a warm-blooded creature. But behind his successful operations, there are a few of his experiments that can make you feel uncomfortable. His famous two-headed dog experiment is one of them. He stitched the head, shoulders and front legs of a puppy onto the neck of a German Shepherd. Although the surgery was a success, as both dogs could move around independent of each other, they didn't survive very long due to tissue rejection. Demikov created 20 such two-headed dogs, but the highest one survived only for a month. While the experiment may sound cruel, it indeed helped in pioneering organ transplants in humans. So, my question is, should people perform experiments on animals in order to make progress on human health issues? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it morally right? In my point of view, it is not. There are plenty of people out there that are willing to participate in weird experiments. Believe me, there are willing to participate on very weird experiments. Animals are not, so just leave them alone. You can find volunteers easily if you want to. Alright? Okay. Let's move to the last one for today. Alright. Talking about human experiments, here we have the testicle transplants. Yes, you've heard right, testicle transplants. So, in one of the most disturbing experiments, Leo Stanley, the physician in charge at San Quentin Prison in California, surgically transplanted the testicles of executed criminals into living inmates. Oh dear. Stanley felt that males who committed crimes share a common characteristic: low testosterone levels, and raising it would reduce the crime rates. More than 600 inmates became the victim of Stanley's crazy theory, and when there was a shortage of human testicles, he went on to inject liquefied animal testicles into the prisoners. Stanley claimed that the experiment was a success. By stating that a prisoner who felt energetic after transplanting the testicle from an executed African American convict. Wow. I do believe that now you can easily find a volunteer to take part on this kind of experiments. Our society today, it's so weird that many people will willingly come and take part on this kind of experiments. So we don't have to live on those old ages that people would use prisoners as experimental material. If you're willing to do something like that for the name of science, just give your testicles and we'll see how it goes. I'm very intrigued by it. Yeah, this kind of people that performed these absolutely cruel experiments should have conducted the experiments on themselves. So yes, this has been for today's folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I would really like to know what you think about experiments in general. I know that most of you believe about how inhuman and how horrendous are experiments on animals, but I would really like to know your ideas on that subject. And yes, this video will be continued shortly. Stay in touch. Be good, and I will see you very soon again. Cheers, bye.